Hello and welcome back to Soul Search Sunday with Johnny Tiger on December 13th, 2020. You're looking in at the training room, aka the nursery for the new kitten Aslan. So if you hear some commotion during the video, and maybe because he's done that a few times already, maybe he will decide to suddenly knock the camera over. Don't be alert, don't be alarmed. That's just the kind of thing we deal with when filming in same space as a kitten. Aslan is doing pretty good. He's only been here for about a month, and he's gained at least a pound and a quarter already. And that's very good. He's growing really fast. My little boy is growing up. Uh, Tomorrow will be a big day because tomorrow is when Tiger is finally going to receive his dental surgery that we have been waiting for quite a while. We had to wait for Tiger's condition to be stabilized enough so he can receive his dental surgery. It's going to be expensive, of course. You got vet and dentistry rolled into one bill. You just know that's going to be some ridiculously expensive stuff. A lot of people, a lot of my friends have expressed how silly it is to be spending so much on a cat. Uh, I'm sure you guys all have heard this one from the older generation. Well, when we used to have cats when I was growing up, when they got sick, we just took them out back and shoot them or drown them. And then you get another one. After all, it's just a cat. Yeah, that's all very logical and also very heartless. I guess it's because partly my animals are pretty much like children, my children to me. And I grew up as a Buddhist. So the whole notion of condemning something to their death uh, with conscious choice, especially when we don't know if that is what they really want. If our whole thing about doing it is to save a few bucks, I think is just not right. But hey, that's just me. I'm not judging anyone else who might make that choice. I'm just here to say that that kind of choice is not something that I would make, at least not easily. But speaking of not the kind of choice that I would make easily, we all have to make hard choices sometime in our lifetime. Some more than others. During my lifetime, I definitely have had to make choices that were not ideal, but necessary nonetheless. Nowadays, when we look at dating sites and uh, chat rooms or chat lines and online profiles, whenever you look at profiles, especially on dating apps and stuff like that, um, one of the biggest thing that we hear people say they look for in a partner or they look for in a relationship all the time is honesty. Look at 50 dating profile, and I would say out of 50 of them, you'll find 45 that's going to mention something about honesty is the most important thing to them, and they want 100% honesty. They want total honesty in a relationship. Whenever I hear things like that, whenever I read things like that, not that I make a habit of reading dating profile, but you can't help but come across things like that every so often when you're browsing the internet. And whenever I come across things like that, I can't help but wonder, do these people really believe in what they say? Do these people really believe that 100% honesty is the best policy? For me, honesty is one of those things that I think of it as alcohol. I think honesty is like alcohol. I think when you have uh, good alcohol, when you have a good whiskey, it's great. When you have an occasional drink, it's great. But I think 100% honesty is too much like 100% alcohol. It's going to kill you. It's going to hurt you. It's not going to be all that productive to human relation with each other. I think, like alcohol, the best kind of honesty is the kind that is tempered with good intention, with kindness, and with other people's feeling in mind. Just like with alcohol, no matter what kind, you need to add water, you need to add ice cube, you need to uh, 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 add a juice, fruity flavors and stuff like that. If I just give you a glass of nothing but 100% pure alcohol, ask you to drink that, unless you're the most like hardcore alcoholic person in the world that's having addiction problem, most likely you won't be able to stomach that. Honesty, I think it's the same way. I'll be honest here. Funny, isn't it? Since that's what we're talking about. I'll be honest here. When I was in college, going through psychology classes, one of the things that we did periodically for fun and for research was playing with the lie detector. The professor would hook us up with the lie detector in class, and people would ask us questions, and then we would let the lie detector try to catch us in a lie. Those lie detectors have never once been able to catch me in a lie, even when I was lying. I remember one of my professors was rather disgusted with me, and he actually told me that I might be borderline sociopath, because apparently both borderline sociopath, borderline psychopath can always slip past lie detectors for some reason. Now, his comment actually disturbed me quite a bit because uh, I don't know. Like I didn't know if he was right. Maybe I lived 18, 19 years of my life not knowing that I was borderline sociopath. Gosh, what happened now? Like, what if one day I just snap and become a full blown sociopath or a psychopath and start murdering people? I mean, I don't feel that kind of urges going on in my head. Not often, anyway. uh, but I mean, come on, come on. We all feel those urges once in a while when someone really make us angry. But I don't feel any abnormal urges. I don't stay awake at night dreaming about murdering kittens. Uh, Although there again, this kitten can be rather annoying. Keep me awake, waking me up in the middle of the night sometimes. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, hey, disturbing thought. And we'll just skip past that. Anyway, I don't stay awake at night thinking about hurting little animals or little children or stuff like that. So I think the professor made a statement that might be designed to make him feel better at the time, uh, and didn't think what kind of effect it would have on the person the comment was meant for. Because there is a reason why I am a very, very good liar. There's a reason why almost everybody in my family is very good liar. Most people, while you were growing up, I think if you're from any kind of a normal family with a normal behavior, you would have been told by your parent not to lie, never tell a lie. You would have heard the story of George Washington and cutting down the tree. You would have been admonished never to lie. You would have been encouraged to be honest. But that's in normal family. When I was growing up, lying was a literal part of surviving in my family. I remember one of the most common things that I had to deal with when I was growing up was my mom would give me $20, $50 on Father's Day and my birthday, or my father's birthday rather, and say, go buy your dad a birthday gift or a Father's Day gift and tell him you've saved up all year to do this. And I would do it because she said that's what would make my father happy. And if you made my father happy, that would mean someone wouldn't get hurt so much. The more he was happy, the less people got hurt. That was an easy equation to understand, even for someone who's 7 or 8 years old. But from that on, I was told to basically lie again and again and again. Every time my mom wanted to go out shopping, she would say, go tell your dad you need school supplies, and mommy needs to take you out to get them, and then we'll go get you some toys. And I would happily tell my father the lie that my mom told me to tell him. When I got my first puppy, we hid the puppy in my room, and when my father discovered the puppy, my mother said, tell your dad that this belonged to your friend, and your friend is out of the country, and you're just taking care of the puppy for your friend. It's okay. Your dad will get busy after a few days and forget all about it. So that's what we did. Later on, when I was a teenager, I remember my father I remember my father saying to me and my siblings once. He only said this a couple of times in my whole life, but I remember it so clearly because it was such a shocking thing to hear from anybody, uh, no less so a parent. My father said to us, he said, if you ever feel the need to tell me something, maybe you did something, maybe you didn't do something, maybe something was wrong. If you ever feel the need to tell me something, ask yourself if it's going to piss me off first. And if you think what you're going to have to say is going to piss me off, then I'd rather you lie to me. Many, many years later, when I tried to explain to my father how my stepmother abused me and all the horrible things she ever tried to do to me, my father again turned and told me, he said, look, she's not here now, and I'm not with her now. What she did before, whether she did it or she didn't, I don't care. I don't care if they were true, I don't care if you're telling me the truth, but I can tell you I don't want to hear about it, so just pretend that she never did those things to you, because I don't want to hear about it. Even once I turned adult, after I no longer live at home, when I talked to my mom on the phone, she would still come up with little ways for me to lie to my father, such as, hey, your father saw your cat on your video, on your YouTube video. If he asks you about it, tell him it's not yours. Tell him it belongs to your girlfriend and you are just looking after it for her. So he's not going to throw a fit and lecture you about you shouldn't have a cat. So you see, I grew up in a family that where honesty was just not even was it not valued. Honesty was almost treated as a bad thing, and the ability to tell a convincing lie, the ability to uh, protect people, protect yourself, and protect others by lying was highly, highly valued. It was like survival ability number one. This is why that to me a lie detector, no problem, not whatsoever. The lie detector is not going to hit you if it suspects you lying. My father, oh boy, that would be a totally different matter. For many years, I had to tell my father a lie. I'm not going to go into it right now, um, because it's such a serious matter. Let's just say he wanted me to do something with my life. I didn't want to do it, but my mom convinced me to lie to him and tell him that I did what he told me to do. And all these years, my mom and I, everyone else who knew the truth, have to keep up this horrible, horrible lie that honestly for many, many years was sort of destroying my sanity or my soul. Uh, Not the whole thing, it's not that big of a deal, but it's hurting me. It is tearing me apart from inside. For many years, I thought maybe I was doing the wrong thing. Maybe I should tell him the truth. In the beginning, I didn't tell him the truth because in the beginning, I was afraid that he would do violence to my mom. And then as he got older, I didn't tell him the truth because I was afraid that he would do violence unto himself. Even now, Quite often, when he think of asking me, he would tell me that if he ever find out that I didn't do what he told me to do, if he find out that I lied to him all these years, he would kill himself, and he would let the whole world know that it's all my fault. I remember I just felt so horrible about this big, elaborate lie that I broke down and talked to Maru, my nanny, who basically brought me up like my real mom, like she was my real mom. I talked to Maru about it because Maru was the person who would tell me the story of George Washington, who would tell me the story of Jesus, who would tell me the story of Buddha, who would tell me the story of Confucius. Maru was my pillar, my moral pillar, my moral guidance. So I made up my mind that if Maru told me that I was doing something horrible, that if I was doing something bad, then I would tell my father the truth, no matter what. And to my great amazement, to my astonishment, this woman who taught me everything about uh, honor, honesty, told me, she said, you cannot tell him the truth. And I said, but mom, what about George Washington? What about honesty? I thought you would tell me to be honest. Maru said, she said, it's important to be honest, but you have to ask yourself, would you be able to live with yourself for the rest of your life? Would the rest of your family be able to forgive you for the rest of their life if you tell him the truth today and tomorrow he commits suicide? Let's not even worry about if he would or wouldn't. Let's just say if he does. How would you feel then? You killed your own father because you are so worried about being honest, because you are too weak to carry this burden. That is, to keep up this lie. So, I guess for the time being, it is a burden that I have to continue to carry on my soul. Um, Maybe one day, I dream about this, I fantasize about this. I fantasize that one day, maybe at his deathbed, maybe when he's laying there and he's going to leave this world, I can stand by his bed and I can say, Dad, I'm so sorry I lied to you. But you know what? I didn't do what you told me to do. I did what I wanted to do, and I turned out to be very happy and quite successful. I hope you are proud of me regardless. I remember a friend, George, told me this story, supposedly true story. George told me that when he was little, he was a bit of a hoodlum. He was a bit of a hellion. And one windy, rainy Halloween, him and his little buddies, they were like 12, 13 years old, they decided to go out, but rather than trick or treating, they would find all the outhouses. Back then, there's still outhouses in Taiwan rather than proper washroom in people's houses. So they would go out and find the outhouses, and with five or six of them, they would tip the outhouses over. sound like some really disgusting kind of thing that kids would get up to. So anyway, George and his friend went out there, found an outhouse in the neighborhood, and the five of them, six of them, got together and pushed on that outhouse until it fell in upon itself. And George said when that happened, they didn't know if it had people in it or not. He said he heard someone scream when they tipped the outhouse over, knocked down the wall, and they ran. And George said next day he woke up feeling awful because he did hear someone scream in there, and he knew how it must have made a mess inside the outhouse when they did that, and how it would be so disgusting for whoever that was inside at the time. So George, no relation to George Washington, by the way, it's just pure coincidence. George, remembering the lesson he learned in school about George Washington and I shall not tell a lie, decided to fess up. George went up to his dad at the breakfast table and he said, Dad, uh, I was very naughty. Me and my friend, we went and tipped over the outhouse. George said his dad looked at him very calmly, and his dad said, "Oh yeah?" And George said, "Yeah, Dad. Uh, yeah. Look, I feel really bad that we did that, but I know you are very angry. You're probably disappointed in me, but I remember what the teacher taught us about George Washington. George Washington chopped down his dad's tree, and he said, 'I shall not tell a lie.' And he went and told his dad about it, and his dad didn't punish him, and his dad even told him that he's a very honest, good kid. And that's how George Washington grew up to be the president of the United States. So, Dad, will you forgive me?" George's dad looked at him, stood up, reached out his very big, very strong hand, and smacked the holy Jesus out of George. George fell down and started crying. And his dad, "How can you do that? I, I'm being honest with you. How can you do that? Look, if George Washington's dad hit him like you just hit me, the United States might not have had a president." George's dad sat back down and looked at George, and he said, "Son, there's one thing you need to understand. The reason Washington's dad did not smack him is because his dad wasn't up in the tree when he chopped down that bloody tree." Oh well, thank you for checking out today's Soul Search Sunday. We'll be back again tomorrow for Music Monday. Hopefully we'll be back for Music Monday because I got to deal with Tiger and his surgery tomorrow, and so we'll see what the day looks like. But I'll do my best to bring a Music Monday. For now, have a good night and say goodbye to Aslan.